And so it's hard to see it when you're in it. And I just want to really encourage you to trust in it, to trust in that waiting season. And there are three things I wanted to share with you today that kind of helps to anchor us in the waiting room, or anchored me. Welcome to Remix Moments with Martine, where we will remix your mindset one moment at a time. I'm your host, Martine Williams, and I'm here to bring you a quick burst of inspiration, insight, and a fresh spin on your mompreneur journey. In just a few minutes, we'll remix your mindset, energize your day, and keep you moving forward with purpose. Let's dive in to today's moment. Well, hey friends, and welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. I am your host, Martine Williams, and today we are talking about the waiting rooms of life. Not the doctor's office specifically, but those seasons where you're living with more questions than answers. When you're praying for a breakthrough, but you're only hearing silence. When you're longing for clarity, but instead maybe God whispers, wait. Waiting is one of the hardest things for me, and I feel like there's been a pattern over the last 3 years. And honestly, I'm a super patient person. Like when you look at my pro scan, pace is one of the natural strengths that we measure, and mine is super high, which means I am super patient, steady, like I'm not in a rush. But waiting feels different in things like this. It feels like wasted time, right? When there's a problem, I am quicker to fix. And so waiting seasons feel like nothing's happening, like maybe God forgot about me, forgot my name. And what I have learned from the past season, if you're new here, I left a 16-year career in direct selling and was called into a season of rest, like 6 months of rest. And it felt like a season of waiting too, right? And so what I learned in that season and what I'm learning in this season is that waiting is not wasted. He wastes nothing. God wastes nothing. It's often where God does his deepest work, both in us and around us. And so I wanted to just talk about that a little bit because it does kind of feel like a little bit of a waiting season right now. And, waiting shows up in so many different ways, waiting for a diagnosis or a healing, waiting for a relationship to be restored, waiting for clarity in your business or maybe your next step, waiting for God to answer your prayers that feel so, so urgent. And in those seasons, it's easy to feel anxious, restless, maybe overlooked, or even stuck. And when we don't like waiting, most of us, if you resonate with any of these, most of us try to distract ourselves with busyness, right? We just get busy. We push harder and try to force outcomes. This is my, for sure, way that I try to work through the waiting seasons is like busting in some doors that were not opened or just try to force outcomes. Sometimes I like to call that just reactive. I become very reactive versus responsive. And I can say it doesn't usually work well when I do it that way, when I'm resisting the waiting. We also try things like comparing our journey to someone else's who seems further along, right? Waiting for that success, waiting for that next level of success. Or we just kind of spiral in self-doubt, thinking like, what's wrong with me that this hasn't happened yet? Or from a spiritual standpoint, sometimes we can think, what have I done that God is not allowing this to happen, right? Or that he's not coming through for me. And all of that only just adds noise. It doesn't actually quiet the ache of waiting. So as many of you know, if you've been listening to the show recently, I've been kind of opening up and sharing what's going on in my home. And it's been a very real waiting room with my family. Recently, as my mother-in-law was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, she moved into our house about 6 weeks ago. So we have been caring for her full time. And, if you know anything about pancreatic cancer, it's one of the most painful and one of the most aggressive. And, everything they said was going to happen is happening, and the decline is there. And we're in it day in and day out. And there are so many unknowns, which is hard for me because I like the plans and I like the details and I like to have all my questions answered and I like to feel prepared. And there's no manual that comes with this. kind of diagnosis. There's no manual that comes along with how to wake up every day with some of the fears that are very real and present, and the emotional toll that it takes, and the physical toll. And if I'm honest, my instinct is to want to rush to those answers and to fix this and to control. And it's been very much shown to me how out of control this is. I can't control this. I can't fix this. I don't have all the answers. But instead, God is inviting me into that wait, to sit in the tension, to lean into Him and not my own striving, not my own trying to fix. And maybe your waiting room looks different, but I know the feeling is the same. When you're waiting on those answers and you're waiting on that breakthrough, anxiety and depression has been a really powerful thing in this diagnosis for my mother-in-law. And just praying for that breakthrough, praying for that peace, praying for that joy to just flood her amidst this season, and just waiting on that breakthrough, knowing that I can't do it for her. I can't have that breakthrough for her. And it's a very helpless feeling when you just want joy and peace for her, and it's available, but you can't do it for him, right? So from a faith perspective, scripture tells us, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. That's from Isaiah 40:31. It also says that wait for the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Psalm 27:14. And then the last one I wanted to share with you is the Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. That's in Lamentations 3:25-26. And so waiting doesn't mean God has forgotten you. It doesn't mean that you're stuck. And waiting is also not passive, right? It's not doing nothing. And I talked about that a little bit here on the podcast, because I remember when, God called me into that 6 months of rest in between where my profession, where my career was in 31 Gives, to now my full-time coaching and speaking business. I'm like, I don't know how to sit and do nothing for 6 months. And it really was when I had a conversation with a friend. It was like, this could be like an active rest. Like, oh, I know what that means. You're working out and you do an active form of rest, which is like walking in place or jumping rope. And it doesn't mean you come to a complete stop. And so once I got on board with that, it really helped me to see that this is not a passive season where I'm just going to be sitting on the couch doing nothing. It's an act of trust. And this feels similar in that way. It's just actively trusting that He has my mother-in-law in His hands, that He loves her more than we do, actively trusting the doctors and the nurses we have called in hospice, and they've been a godsend to us and such a great support. Actively trusting that although I'm not fully out there promoting my business right now, or doing business as usual, actively trusting that God's got that too, and He's going to continue to provide and show up in ways that I couldn't even think of myself, right? So before all this started, I was really ramping up the business again, and pursuing speaking opportunities. And there's a local magazine that I was featured in, and that just came out this month. This was Sassy Magazine. It was a great article. I was featured in Life Coach Magazine. Also have another one coming up. So like actively trusting that those things are not wasted, even though I can't, or maybe don't decide, it's not that I can't, decide to fully promote all those things right now. Just actively trust that the timing is going to be perfect when I do, and that God is going to honor that, right? And that's, as the ambitious woman that I am, waiting to talk about those things and waiting to promote those things is difficult. It's hard for me. So waiting is not passive. It's showing up with honesty and prayer and choosing to rest in God's strength instead of striving in my own. It's in preparing my heart and my habits and my faith for what's next, even when you don't see it. And I can say from that 6-month period when I was in between professions, that's exactly what it was. It was preparing my heart for all of the things that followed, some really good and exciting and some super challenging, like the one we're in right now. Preparing my habits, preparing my faith for what I'm enduring right now. And so it's hard to see it when you're in it. And I just want to really encourage you to trust in it, to trust in that waiting season. And there are, three things I wanted to share with you today that kind of helps to anchor us in the waiting room, or anchored me. Number one was just being honest with God and telling him the truth. Like, this is hard. I don't understand. I'm tired of waiting. When's the breakthrough going to happen? When are you going to remove her pain? When are we going to get it right? All of those things, just being super honest, because honesty is where intimacy begins. And it's just really important. Honesty, not only just with God, but with the people in your home, the people that are walking the journey with you, the people who are in the waiting room with you, whether they're in their own season of waiting. So maybe it's a peer, or maybe it's just someone in your family who is enduring the same thing that you're enduring. So honesty is where intimacy begins. So just being honest, super honest. The second one is anchoring yourself in identity. Waiting stirs up a lot of questions of worth, at least it has for me. And you might hear whispers of, I'm behind, right? Like that's come up quite a bit. Or I'm forgotten, or I'm not enough, or this is not going to be enough. Is this going to completely change my business? Like, really remembering that your identity is not tied into timelines or productivity, that your value isn't in what you can do, how fast you move, or what you achieve, that your identity is secure in who God says you are. And it really does just come down to that, and trusting in his timing and his provision. Hey friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up, and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
I honestly cannot say enough positive things about coaching with Martine. From the very first session, I knew this was something different. The deep dive into who I am and why I operate the way I do per the ProScan results has helped me immensely and allowed me to embrace my unique qualities on various levels. I would 1000% recommend hiring her for whatever level of transformation you're looking for.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martinewilliams.com with 3 times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show. And then the last one has been really important in this season because, as I've shared many times, it's very, very hard watching someone decline, watching someone physically decline and emotionally just really struggle, and even spiritually a little bit. But looking for the small glimpses of grace. Even in long waiting seasons, there are little reminders of God's presence. A kind word, a moment of laughter, a bit of unexpected peace. Like, write them down, because they're the breadcrumbs that lead you through, and you're going to find what you're looking for. And so if you're in the waiting room and you're looking for all the ways that this is awful, all the ways that this is not the way it's supposed to be, all the ways that this is hard, then you're going to find more of those things. But if you're looking for those moments of grace, if you're looking for those pockets of peace, if you're looking for those God moments, they really are all around. One of the most interesting things that's happened here recently, and it's going to sound funny when I talk about it at first, but just stick with me. So back when this all first started, she had, we were actually out to dinner, and she was doing pretty good. We actually had just gotten, we were still waiting on the biopsy results. But she was in pain. So was on pain medicine. We were out to dinner, and she started showing signs of a stroke. and she couldn't get her spoon to her mouth. Her right side face started drooping. And it was me and her daughter, who's also a nurse. And like we both looked at each other, we knew instantly that something wasn't right. And so, long story short, we went to the hospital. She's in the hospital for a night, actually 2 nights. And, all the scans came back clean. Nothing major showed, which is kind of like, well, then what in the world was it? So they basically said, when you have cancer, sometimes your blood can thicken and it can cause clots to form. And so they really thought she had a TIA, or what you would know probably as a mini stroke. So one of the most traumatizing things I've seen. It was really horrific to watch someone go through that. So put her on blood thinners. Everything's been fine until this past Friday. No, sorry, Saturday. She started having some of those same symptoms. And I was actually sitting in waiting to get a massage. I was going to treat myself and get a little relaxation. And my husband calls and said, I think she's having a stroke. So I leave, come back to the house, and she definitely was. It was a longer one. So she had multiple, I think, back to back. And then Sunday, same thing. But the interesting thing is that a couple of days before, I had prayed with her and over her, and really just asking the Lord to give her some peace, to remove the pain. The pain had been getting pretty bad, and just praying for those two things specifically. And so the interesting thing is, I don't know, she hasn't had any long term like side effects. She recovers from all of them fully. But the interesting thing is that she has not had to take as much pain medicine. She has not had to take her anti anxiety medicine that she takes. And so there's this sense of peace and there's this sense of less pain that has happened. And I'm like, okay, Lord, this is what I prayed for, but this was not how I thought you would deliver, you know? And as scary as it is every time she has one of these episodes, and I'm praying that she doesn't have any more, because it really does just heighten my anxiety, which I don't even really struggle with anxiety normally. But anyway, that's a small glimpse of grace, right? It's not how I thought he would answer our prayer, but he has answered it in some way. And maybe it's not because of those episodes, and maybe I'm putting two things together that don't even make sense. But God's ways are mysterious. And I truly believe that I'm looking for those. I'm looking for his answer. I'm looking for the answer to prayer. I'm looking for him in all of this. And you have to be doing that actively in your waiting season. If not, your brain's going to take you to the most awful places, the most awful scenarios. And so it does require you managing your thoughts, which is why one of the things that helps me to wait well in a waiting season is keeping a journal. And I've talked about this on the episodes many times, and I was not a journaler. I thought it's a waste of time. I can't slow down long enough. What would I even put in there? Like, I remember having a Hello Kitty diary when I was a little girl, but like, what, everybody talks about journaling. Like, how big of a deal could it be? Well, I decided to give it a try when I was in that first big waiting room for me. And I can tell you that it helped me, and still does to this day, helps me process my fears, my frustrations, helps me to jot down prayers, helps me to see the wins, the small blessings, those God moments that are happening. They are there. You just have to be willing to look for them and see them, and cut through the noise to see that he is very present in your waiting room. So if you are in a waiting season, journal it, because now, I mean, I think I have 7 or 8 journals full that I will be able to go back one day and just see all the past blessings, all the ways that God was with me in the waiting room. Because you know what? I know there's going to be another waiting season. I know there will be. Another practice, like a practical way to wait well, is like just breath prayers. Honestly, like as anxiety rises, inhale, God is with me. Exhale, I can trust his timing. And sometimes that's about all I can get out. There's sometimes in this season where I don't even know what to pray. And so it's just a simple inhale and exhale that God is with me. God is for me. I can trust his timing. I can trust him. Telling yourself these truths that if you have that relationship with the Lord. And the last one is just stillness rhythms. So another practical way is just even 5 minutes of silence each day create space to notice God's presence instead of just noise. So go outside, sit outside. If you can, get in the sunshine. What are some stillness rhythms? But even 5 minutes, don't let your brain go to all or nothing. Well, if I can't go get an hour massage, then there's nothing I can do to quiet my mind. That's not true. You can do a 5 minute breath exercise, a 5 minute walk outside, and it will create that space for you to notice. And then the results, like there's so many things that I have gained in these waiting seasons, even though they haven't been quote unquote fun. When you lean into God in the waiting room, here's what happens. Number one, you build resilience that rushing can't give you. Rushing around, trying to perform, trying to get it all done, that can't give you the resilience. You deepen your trust in his timing instead of forcing your own. You learn to just sit back and watch him do his thing. He may not be early. Lord, I wish he was some days, but he's never late. He's never late. You just rediscover yourself apart from productivity and outcomes. Like, again, I'm used to performing. I'm used to goals and deadlines and producing and marketing and selling and all of those things. And right now, it's just not the priority. And I'm still valuable. You know, my coach calls them low value cycles. A low value cycle is not a no value cycle. I'm still able to give value by showing up here on the podcast and being honest and transparent with you. It looks and feels different probably here for you on this podcast, but it's not any less valuable. It's just different. Another result is you begin to see that waiting isn't empty. It's where God strengthens you and prepares you for what's next. And honestly, I do thank him for these seasons of waiting, these seasons that are slower, these seasons of reflection. There's so much going on right now in our world, and there's so much going on right now in my own home. I mean, there's other things that have been piled on top of this that I'm not going to get into here on the podcast, but it's where he's strengthening me. And it's where he's preparing me for whatever's next. And what I'm going through right now, I'm going to be able to use to help someone else one day. And maybe it'll be a coaching client. Maybe it'll be at a keynote event. Who knows? I don't know, but he does. And so everything is on purpose and for purpose, and nothing is wasted. So, friend, if you're in a waiting season right now, I want you to hear this. You're not behind, and you're not forgotten. You're not stuck. You're not doing it wrong. The waiting room isn't wasted. And the sooner you accept it versus resistance, the sooner you're going to see God in it. The sooner you're going to see it's for you, not against you. Sooner you're going to see the fruit from it. And it may be where you find yourself again too, because maybe this is the reason, the whole reason you're in a waiting season is God wants to bring you back to who you are, not just what you do and how you perform and how you produce. So I am still offering my clarity calls. So if you're in a waiting season, I feel like I'm becoming an expert at the waiting season or change. I'd love to help you. I have a few spots open in my one-on-one coaching right now. And so I am able to offer some clarity calls still. And so you can go to martinewilliams.com/clarity and let's just explore what God might be inviting you into in this time and in this season. And again, if for nothing else, it's an hour where you get to be heard, you get to be seen, you get to be supported. And if I know you, you're the one doing that for so many other people. So it's a beautiful gift to give yourself. It's 1 hour, it's completely free. And I'd love to meet you there. So martinewilliams.com/clarity. I hope this episode encouraged you. I hope that it met you right where you are if you are in the waiting room. And if not, bookmark it because there'll be a day where you will be in a waiting room of some sort. And this will be a great encouragement to you. So I'm believing in you always, and I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's it, friends, for this remix moment. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me, and I hope that you are feeling inspired and ready to take on whatever comes your way. Remember, even small moments can lead to big changes. If this moment made a difference, be sure to subscribe, share with your fellow moms, and leave me a quick review. Seriously, it means the world to me to hear from you. And until next time, I am believing in you, and I will catch you in the next moment.